You know, everyone thinks that we live in 1984 or maybe Brave New World by Huxley, but have you ever considered that maybe we're all living inside of The Hideous Strength by C.S. Lewis? That book, 1945, made a really uncomfortable point. The people most vulnerable to propaganda are not the dumb ones. It is the hyper-educated ones. You see, C.S. Lewis wasn't worried about cartoon dictator with a boot stepping on your neck or drugs used to dull you and control your behavior. He was worried about technocrats, the experts, the committees, the credentialed people who are absolutely convinced that they're the smartest ones in the room and therefore they can't be fooled. In that book, The Hideous Strength, the bad guys are not thugs. They're not brutal dimwits. They are scientists. They are bureaucrats. They are moral busybodies, technocrats who are improving humanity. Everything is framed as progress as they oppress people more and more. It's framed as compassion, as rationality, as expertise. That book pits the characters against something called NICE, a technocratic cabal of scientists and bureaucrats and elites who are hell-bent on improving humanity through eugenics and propaganda and transhumanist experiments, all under the cloak of progress. And does that sound familiar? That book is a really chilling prophecy of where we're at today, with our real-world deep state and the shadow government that exists and does what they want regardless of the elections, our big tech overlords who are making lives increasingly more like an electronic prison for everybody, the credentialed progressives who wield artificial intelligence, media manipulation, moral relativism in every single aspect of life to escape from biology itself, to enforce control. That's far more insidious than George Orwell's boot on your neck or Huxley's soma drugs, right? Because in The Hideous Strength, the oppression of the state hides behind benevolence and expertise. And that's kind of the most evil part. That's the trick, right? Lewis actually spells it out pretty plainly. He has one character say basically that it's the educated reader who can be fooled. Working people assume that everything they see is propaganda. They're not impressed. But the educated class of people, they'll believe almost anything as long as it sounds smart. That should be hauntingly familiar to everybody, because the story's not about whether or not you're smart or have a high IQ. No one is denying that you're intelligent. If you're watching my content, you're probably pretty smart. It's about your ego, right? You get told that you're one of the enlightened ones, the Illuminati, one of the good people, the post-tradition, the post-religion, the post-bias, the post-revolutionary crowd. And once you buy that story, you stop questioning all the people who sound and look like you, right? Now, in real life, this is one of the reasons why they pushed college on everyone so hard. You ever thought about why a couple decades ago they suddenly let everybody go to college? It wasn't just to make money. And it's not because education is evil. It's not. I went to college too. It's because giving you status and getting you into debt, plus having a credentialed consensus in the world that you contribute to, that is a hell of a leash around your neck. You chased that degree to prove that you're special, to prove that you're part of the club, to prove that you're smart. You racked up debt to get into the club, and now once you're inside, you instinctively trust whatever other credentialed people tell you. They baited your ego, and they gave you interest payments for your trouble. It's a good trick. And look, most of the people, if you're watching my content, right, if you're watching this, if you're listening to me now, you already see the cracks in this system. Obviously, you see the dysfunction and how the incentives work that I'm always talking about. You see how the machine grinds everyone down globally. You see that they lied to you. They promised you a future that they had zero intention of ever actually delivering. But here's the real thing. Diagnosing this stuff is not the problem anymore. I don't sound like a crazy person because this is your life. The problem is they made taking action the issue. So here's some practical steps from me to you on how you can not be so easily gullible from a practical standpoint. First of all, you need to be auditing your inputs way more than you are right now. Everything going into your brain, including me right now, this is nutrition, right? Is it good nutrition or is it bad nutrition? Stop treating high status sources of information as if they were automatically serious and right. Think tanks and panels and committees and consensus reports, you need to be treating all of these things with skepticism that you would give a clickbait headline. Ask yourself all the time, Who is benefiting by me believing this, or me thinking this way, or me parroting this line? What's missing from the equation? Where's the primary data? Secondly, a lot of people need to start thinking sideways and building horizontal networks. You're not just going to be going up or down the networks. You need to be building sideways. You need to be thinking about truckers and factory workers, blue-collar people who aren't credentialed. You need to stop trying to lecture everyone in your life or educate people who aren't as smart as you or haven't read the right books, right? Those relationships, they are going to break the monopoly that the mid-wit manager class has on intelligence. And also, I think you need to start anchoring yourself outside of the systems entirely. The things that are keeping you trapped on a daily basis, you need to physically get yourself out of that. So C.S. Lewis's heroes in that book, they don't win with better arguments, right? They win with decency and loyalty and community and faith and tradition. So pick some combination of those for yourself and go with it. I don't know, read old books. Read books written before the current paradigm, right? Meet people offline. Do things that don't earn you internet points or internet approval from strangers. And this is probably the most important part. You need to start starving the leverage that they have over your mind. Reduce the dependency that you have on these consensus networks while you still can. The platforms and the institutions and the gatekeepers of information and what's acceptable to believe and to act on, you need to start starving their leverage. Support your local economy. Get out of your house and into your neighborhood. Support independent media. Support mutual aid systems if that's what you're into. Anything that doesn't require a stamp of approval from the clerical priesthood. Because the hideous strength, it only really works, right? The propaganda only works when these smart people keep volunteering to be fooled because it feels good to be in the club. My advice is very, very simple. Break the cycle starting today in your own life with the people around you because you're not helpless. And you are way too overqualified to just lay down and surrender. You are being tested constantly in this environment. In this technocratic world, they are constantly testing your systems. They are strength testing you all the time. Not on your intelligence, but on your gullibility. I suggest you prove them wrong.